On October 5th, I had the privilege of fishing the Sacramento River for king salmon with legendary North State guide Mike Bogue of Mike Bogue's Guide Service and longtime outdoor writer John Higley. We launched the boat before daylight at the Balls Ferry boat ramp. Mike broke out his collection of huge T60 flatfish, and we were on our way looking for kings. So here we are, it's October 5th. We're fishing the Sacramento River right below Balls Ferry. I'm here with legendary outdoor writer John Higley, pro guide Mike Bogue, and we are trying to catch a big old king salmon.
You gotta be out of the way though, John. I gotta walk through there.
All right, Sacramento River salmon on the hook, baby. on a big old flatfish.
Just let him go.
Just got off. Get him, John. I hooked and lost the first fish of the day, and John Higley hooked and lost the second fish of the day.
Ooh, that's a nice one.
Yeah. We'll be back on the Sacramento River with fresh sardine wraps right after this.
Lots of pressure. It's got the reel handle on the wrong side.
Whatever, John Higley. John's got a big old king salmon on here. It's not been an easy morning, so we really want to get this one in the net.
How big is it?
Oh, it's not a real big one, but it is a salmon nonetheless.
They all taste the same.
Exactly. Show 'em who's boss, John.
Give it a try.
Oh yeah, in the net. Take that. We're on the board. Good job, John.
Anytime.
And look at this one.
Nice job, John.
Not a monster, but it's not really old-looking fish either.
No, it looks good. We got the
Pretty fresh.
skunk off the boat, and
Pretty fresh.
we're on the board. All right, we'll get back out there and see if we can get another one.
Good try.
Right after John landed his king, I landed a fish of my own. Unfortunately, I didn't get it on video because my battery died. As Mike Bogue cleaned the fish, he shared his thoughts about what's left of the salmon season on the Sacramento. Right. Nice cleaner fish. How's the season been so far, Mike?
You know, it's been really, really good. Kind of with the early predictions, weren't know what to expect, but it's turned out to be a really good season.
A very pleasant surprise. Well, it's October 5th. What's upcoming? How long does the season go, and what's the outlook for the rest of the season?
The season ends on December 15th. This fall run will be over sometime around the end of October, first part of November, and then we get a whole new run of bigger, brand new, shiny fish, the late falls, and they'll go till December 15th.
And that's when you get those big, giant 20-plus pound chromers up here in the cool weather. That's awesome.
Yes, they are dandies too.
Very good. Yeah, and I know they're still getting some big fish in the ocean, so there's a lot more fishing to come on the Sacramento River. So give Mike Bogue a call, and he will put you on some big, beautiful king salmon. With the salmon filleted, we ran back to the Balls Ferry boat ramp and pulled the big North River out of the water. It had been a wonderful day on the water with a couple of great fishermen. Hi, Kel Kellogg here. I want to talk about back trolling for salmon. Some of the best salmon fishing of the year is still to come on the Sacramento River. Those big late fall run chromers are coming, and the number one way to hook those fish is back trolling big flatfish. Now you see in the video with John Higley and Mike Bogue, that's how we're catching them. We're back trolling big giant T60 flatfish. Now I've set up a rod. I don't have any big giant T60 or T55 flatfish. I've caught a lot of river salmon, but I always go with a guide. They have the gear. But I wanted to go over some very basic technique stuff that if you decide to take a guided trip this fall and you're going to be doing some back trolling, it's going to help you be way more successful, and it's also going to help your guide out a good deal. So let's look at the basic rig. Like I said, everything's downsized. I'm just going to pull a little slack here and actually set my rod down. Before I do though, let's talk about the basics. Here's what you're going to be using most likely. You're going to be using some sort of a level wind reel, probably with a line counter on it. It's going to have braided line, 50 to 65 pound test. And then here's what the end of the rig is going to look like. Set that rod down. Try not to step on it. That's my good cousin's tackle rod. So here is the end of the leader. As you can see, I have just a little trout sized flatfish on there just for illustration purposes. When you're salmon fishing with a guide, he's going to have a big plug. It's going to have 2 hooks on it. It's going to be wrapped with sardines and maybe some crawdad meat and a bunch of scent and all that kind of stuff. You're going to have about a 48-inch leader. This is 10-pound test, but when you're out for salmon, it's going to be anywhere from 40, 50, 60-pound test mono or fluorocarbon line. And your sinker setup is going to look like this. How it works. Got that wrapped around my rod like a bunch of times. Anyway, so here's how this is set up. Now again, when you're out on the river, you're going to be using sinkers that weigh 3, 4, all the way up to maybe even a pound. I think when I was out with Mike Bogue, we were using 1 and 2 ounces, and then later on in the day we're using 3s and 4s. So anyway, what you see there, I've got the main line here. We've got a snap swivel on the main line. That's where the weight attaches. And below that there's a bead, and then there's another snap swivel here, and that's where your leader attaches to, and then on the end of the leader, of course, is your flatfish. Now, back trolling. The guide's going to set this rig up for you, so you don't have to worry about that part. But here's what back trolling is all about. Let's say we're standing in a river right now. The current is moving this way. Current's moving this way. When you're back trolling, the guide is using the boat's motor to keep the boat either stationary in the current or moving backwards downstream at a pace slower than the water is moving around the boat. When you put your flatfish in the water, just the force of the current is going to make that plug work. Now, in some situations, when the salmon are in shallow water, you don't need to use a weight at all. You could just use the plug. You could put it out behind the boat. The guide will kind of use the motor to steer the plug where the fish are. Now, when the water's a little bit deeper, salmon are always on the bottom. So you need your plug down on the bottom, and you need it backing up so the plug approaches the fish and gets in their face. That's what creates a strike. They aren't trying to eat it. You're just trying to be aggressive with it, get it away from them. So to keep it down, you need a weight. So you'll see in the video, you'll see Mike Bogue and you'll see John Higley, and they're constantly going like that with their rod, okay? They're not imparting any action to the plug. It looks like they might be, but really what they're doing is they're lifting the sinker and setting it down, lifting it and setting it down, lifting it and setting it down. All the while, Bogue is allowing the boat to slowly back downstream, okay? If you just hold your rod like that, this sinker is going to find a spot in the rocks and you are going to be snagged very quickly, okay? So what you do, you lift it up and you feel it tap. Lift it, tap. Lift it, tap. Lift it, tap. And what that's doing is it's just walking that sinker downstream with the plug working behind it, but it's not going to hang up. That's very important. The more time you're hung up, the less chances you have of catching a fish. So, say we're doing that. The last most important part of back trolling big plugs for salmon comes in the strike and the hook set. And there's some technical things. The initial part of the strike usually feels like a couple of taps or slaps, and you're going to want to just set the hook. Don't do that. use all your willpower to keep that rod tip steady, and the fish is going to be mauling that plug, and he's going to be pulling harder and harder, and you just wait as long as you can. I can't overstress this. The longer you wait, the better off you are. Let that salmon get that plug well back in his mouth. When you can't wait any longer and that rod is just pulling down in your hands, thumb the spool and set the hook hard. Okay? Drive those hooks home. Here's the final mistake a lot of guys make. They'll do everything right. They'll set the hook and they'll go like this. Don't do that. You either hooked the fish or you didn't. If you stand there looking at the tip to see if you hooked him, what's going on? You're giving the fish slack. It's a big plug. If he starts shaking his head, there's a lot of leverage there. He'll toss that flatfish right out of his mouth. Instead, what you want to do, thumb it, set and reel. If you got him, you got to get that slack out of the line. You got to get the fish's head coming off the bottom. Don't look at the rod. That's not going to do anything. Set it, reel. You got him. Then just follow the guide's instructions. He's going to steer that boat around. He's going to keep that fish vertical, and you're going to put that fish in the box, and high fives all around. Anyway, I hope these tips help. There's some big salmon on the way. Hit the river, jump out there with Mike Bogue or one of the other great guides in Northern California, and get that big, giant king salmon of your dreams. Anyway, this is Cal Kellogg signing off. I'll catch you next time with another fishing tip.